next speaker, Magdalena Blechoska. And Magdalena is an super experienced HR professional with a long-term experience in UPS. Currently, she is Global Talent Development Director, if that's correct, Magdalena. And she's going to talk to us about culture change and leadership transformation through action learning. And that's, of course, a very topical subject, and we're all interested to hear from you. If you have questions, put your questions in the chat box. We will have time to answer them at the end of Magdalena's presentation. Magdalena, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tom, for introduction. Thank you for having me today. I'm so happy to talk about the concept of action learning, which is actually something that I truly wholeheartedly believe in. And I want to start with a little anecdote, as we had some of the action learning teams running already. We have received an email from one of the participants' spouse, saying that we must have some great learning programs in UPS, because she can actually observe her husband to communicate and to connect with family members in a different way. So I'm just saying, and that's a true story, and I'm just saying that to really show and give an example of how that process is deeply enriching just people as human beings. So it goes down to how we connect with the world, how we engage with others, and how we are as people. But of course, you're going to ask me a question. Okay, this is great from people's perspective, but what about the business? Because whenever we introduce some kind of learning intervention, we actually being asked by business, okay, what's the return of investment, or how it's going to relate to my priorities as a business person? So it does, because actually this process is, the team is working on leadership skills, and it's working on finding solutions to the big organizational challenges. So right after the finalizing on the process, the business has a fresh perspective on some challenges of the business. They might have some solutions to right away implement to the business to be more innovative organization. So it does affect it all. So I'm going to be anchoring the action learning initiative on how it can not only help to develop leadership skills, but at the same time to accelerate culture change in the organization. And I just want to say a couple of words about us as UPS, just to tell you who we are, but at the same time shape why we needed that process at a specific moment and how it helped us with our specific values that we wanted to introduce to the organization. So we are a global logistic company. You might know us from our brown vans that are delivering small packages, but we are in general also present in the whole supply chain with a quite well-developed healthcare arm. So we are also a prominent provider of COVID-19 vaccines. We have delivered over 1 billion vaccines so far. We are global and large, and to be able to actually deliver 25 million packages a day, you may imagine what kind of organization we are. We are super time sensitive. Everything has to work in a clockwork. So we are super focused on operational excellence, efficiency. We are very well structured, very hierarchical, to be accountable and to have some of the command and control culture. At the same time, because our work depends on people, we have created so-called, and that was with a vision of our founder, we have created so-called a family style working environment. So we have a long-standing careers. We do believe in promotion from within, loyalty gets rewarded, and jobs are very often a lifetime jobs for our people. So we are as a family, but we also do expect a discipline. So everything can work as a clockwork. So what does this kind of culture miss, especially to be able to cope with the challenges of a current environment shaped by e-commerce, specialization, huge competition, and increasing customer expectations for flexibility mainly. Adding to that the social context we are in, we are being distant, virtual, lonely, we are experiencing adversity from pandemic first, now political unrest. We need more humanity in our management, and we need a little bit different leadership style. So we have started our culture change journey already several years ago, but now since 2 years, we have a new CEO who actually for the first time in our 115 years of history is a female, who is highly focused on culture, and we are even more set to be successful. So at the moment that we needed that culture shift from being so command and control, little risk averse, not flexible enough and not collaborating enough across our teams, we needed more empowerment, more flexibility, take quicker decision, and especially to be more innovative and fast changing. So how action learning could actually help us? And let me shape my story today to tell you about some overview of the program. Then I'm going to go through some tools that we use for action learning, so actually make it so valuable. And also talk a little bit about value and impact and how we measure that, but also what you can do with the process, because it does have a flexibility in it, so you can leverage the content and you can use it in a different way. So why is this process so valuable right now? So we all know that we are facing challenges that we have never experienced before. So we need to look at them in a different creative way. We can't just solve the problems with the old means. So that's actually what this process does. It does center of imagining future scenarios, future solutions for those challenges that are kind of like very uneasy to resolve. The business also right now, the complex problems that we have in business are not so easy to be resolved with a narrow function or the silo. So we need more cross-functional collaboration so the teams can build together this future solutions. That's what the process does as well. It brings people from different experiences, different areas of business to work together and to collaborate together to create a future. And the last point is that we are just right now experiencing building and the need of building new skills and competencies. And we know the old training ways are not always working because we just like, as we go, we build new skills that we didn't have before. So it's not easy to explain the whole action learning process, especially within half an hour. So I'll start with a short video that can show you how it looks like, very high level. And then we're going to go into a little bit talking about how logistically that looks like.
Problem solved with real business challenges. Welcome to action learning. Keep an open mind, brainstorm with your team, and ask, why, not what. Talk with your colleagues but also chat with experts outside of UPS. Are you a judger or learner? Find the power to choose in any situation. Don't let business challenges bring you down. Take action.
All right, so that's just basically how it looks like. So we do develop a team that consists normally 6 to 8 participants from diverse perspectives, experiences, seniorities, functions, etc. We very much care not to have too many experts in the team, but to actually have some people that have no idea about the challenge or the area of the challenge, because we need this fresh perspective and this fresh questions. The team works super democratically, so there's no leader, and that's usually a huge challenge for the organizations that are super hierarchical. The group works to resolve a critical business challenge, but they also work on the individual leadership challenges that they bring into the action learning set, as we call it. The team works super independently, so we avoid, advising for next steps or the decisions. They just have an executive sponsor that is helping them out if needed, and it's also super interested about resolving his challenge. The process usually takes around 6 months, and the team is meeting like once a week or bi-weekly for a half a day or a day meeting. What they do throughout the process, we follow like a learning cycle. So they collect some insights and information, they reflect over it, they create a new meaning for them, and they try to implement as they go some ideas for the solutions. So to gather that knowledge and expertise, they talk to internal and external experts. And we do try to have at least like 20, 30 people that we talk to gather that knowledge and to reflect over that. And the solutions are presented to the top leadership committee, so executive level committee. Now let me jump to talking about the tools that we leverage that makes this process so meaningful. First of all, we have some kind of ground rules. So like manifest of how we're gonna be actually operating in that team. So, and this is also sometimes super surprising for hierarchical cultures, as we start by saying, leave your ego at the door. So we really not caring here about your brilliance, but we're caring about your ignorance. We are focused to get your questions, get your doubts, and that everyone is having the same voice in the team to express that. So there's a facilitator of the team that's making sure that these guidelines are actually presented. There's lots of questions. We try to question and probe to uncover the reasons and assumptions. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the question in a minute. And there's a red flag when we say, okay, we just never did it that way. Doesn't matter. If you don't just do it because you did it in the past. That's like a red flag that we would see in a teamwork. We also have a Vegas rule. So this is a super confidential situation. If there's something that is being said that should not get outside light, that is being committed to. So the team is working in a super trusted and super psychological safety environment. Learning styles questioning. To accelerate learning, we start with a little bit of analysis of ourselves. We use the learning style questionnaire to see what are our learning preferences, how we normally learn, because the learning is really a gateway to anything. If you can learn and accelerate your learning, this is accelerating your success. So therefore, we also through the process try to develop the other learning styles that are maybe not as strong for us. We do have the way we start and finish the meeting. So to be very consistent with that, we call it check-in and check-out. And check-in is really like when you come over to the meeting, what's your feeling? What's on the top of your head? Is it something bothering you? So this is something that can encourage conversation among the attendees, show that you care, and you check on the feelings of people. Maybe for facilitators, like, do I need to adapt the day because of how people are today in the specific environment? And that also allows the team to get to know each other better. How do we check out? We do check out to be sure that we are moving through the cycle of learning. So we summarize what we learned today. Was it something that inspired us? Maybe something that still surprises us or puzzling us? And what actions would I like to take personally as a result of that? And we do it for our business challenge work because there are like this two chain, business challenge work, my personal leadership challenge work. So I'm reflecting over what did I experience today that can make me a step forward in my learning process. We are super heavy on questions. I actually, normally when I introduce the action learning set, we position this questioning with a quote of Albert Einstein, who says that if I had an hour to resolve a problem and my life depends on the solution, I would spend first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask, because for once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. So we're spending a lot of time in building good questions, practicing the right questions, and we do it again for the business work. So for our conversations with the external speakers, for our reflections in the set, but also for reflecting over my leadership challenge. Here's the way we can categorize the questions to even more provoke the holistical approach to questioning, because it aligns to 3 areas of human processing. So we talk about the thinking questions, so they're relating to our our head, our thinking process, and then feeling questions that can uncover people's, reasoning and emotional feeling around it, and some doing questions which are targeting the actions and the intentions and directions. We do introduce the model of open versus closed mindset, or we may call it also like a judger and learner mindset. So basically is how we approach situations in life, whether we stay judgmental, reactive, I don't want to change, I'm not really ready to do this step, I'm kind of inflexible, I'm protective to where I am. Or we can actually, in every situation in our life, we can actually think whether I'm actually happy where I am, how am I feeling being like that? And do I want to bridge and to maybe try to change my mindset in a direction of being more open, accepting, like really start feeling comfortable with unknown, questioning assumptions and being just curious. So here's how I can react. I can say, okay, yes, but I can say, oh, that wouldn't work. Oh, we did it in the past. So that never gets approved. That's not going to work. Or I can just stop, think, reflect and say, okay, tell me more. What's our options? What's possible? How can I make it happen? Or what can I learn from that? And how can I think differently about it? And this one is really huge for people. I mean, we so quickly jump into a conclusion and we so quickly jump with our own opinions and our own way of thinking, where we don't stop enough and listen to others people, even if we at first think, okay, that might not work, but maybe there's something behind it that I can learn from. So I had a friend that was telling me once, okay, I'm just kind of like, and that was like 2 years after we finalized the action learning set that she was in. And she said, I'm really practicing that learner's approach and being open and welcoming people's ideas and thoughts, but I kind of got myself to be judger for myself. So I'm really being judgmental to what I'm doing, how I'm doing, and that gets me down. So I need to practice and use my journal, which we also use in a set, to be more mindful to how I'm reacting to myself. This is usually huge. What people are really leaving this action learning set, they do remember that, and they kind of really are able to catch themselves in the moment and say, okay, am I really judging now, or am I being open enough? We do this conversations that we have with internal and external speakers. We call it inside in and outside in. So that's the way to bring this fresh perspective and ideas into our work. We usually consult, external leaders, experts, customers, universities, anyone that can have significant value related to our business challenge or can have influence. The way we approach this people is not really to just gather the knowledge and to benchmark, but really make this conversation insightful and thought-provoking for both of the parties. So stay away from anything that is politically correct, but look for the reasoning, way of thinking, way that how they build on their decisions. And normally when we position that way and we approach some external leaders, and that was the top people from different organizations, we positioned that meeting this way, I don't think we ever said no to get on the meeting with us. And we've been also measuring whether that was also thought-provoking for the other partners. So that was like a, reflective conversations for both of us. Hot chair. That's the name that was that's the label that was given by one of the teams, that was a Dutch team, to the process that normally we call leadership challenge exercise. This is this moment where people start working on a personal leadership challenge. So there is one person that comes in and says, okay, this is what I'm struggling as a leader. This is what I want to talk about. And he gives some insights about it. And what we do with that is we really avoid, because that's what we normally would do. That's my advice. That's what I'll do. I've been on that situation. This is how you should deal with that. we do avoid doing it, but we rather create this environment for people to find their own answers. This is coming from the notion of, we should abandon this pretense that we know what's best to the other people, and to accept that most of the answers are inside of us. We just need to forge a path to it. So these questions that the team is asking us, plenty of questions, are super thought-provoking, are very caring and coming from our kindness, empathetic, and encouraging this thinking. And this is really huge. At the end, everyone is talking about how this process affected me, how I'm thinking about this leadership challenge, and how this whole situation was an experience for me. And this is also, if you create the right atmosphere and psychological safety and trust for this is also big, because people are learning vulnerability, being authentic, and also like able to deeply reflect over ourselves, which is again a provoking learning. And the last thing I want to talk about is the tools that are helping the team to facilitate that business challenge work. So these are numerous tools that start from, how we define the scope of the exercise, how we decide and categorize what we know, what we don't know, and what kind of questions we should ask to the next interviewees. What did we learn? And then we follow the scaffolding approach of what is the macro context, what did we learn about the external environment, about the organization, about our team, and about ourselves as well. So we're drilling down to this learning process from top to down. And also, like, how can I evaluate whether my solution is the right one and we should go with this? So this is like evaluating impact versus easiness of implementing that solution. There are also different tools that the team is flexibly encouraged to bring in. Like some of the people are using mind mapping, some of the design thinking would actually bring in. So this is also left for the team to decide. I just want to capture just words here of what kind of skills or competencies of behavior people are exercising through the process. And that's all what we see here. That's something that is affecting what we needed from our values that we wanted to bring into our culture. The beauty of that process is, because you may think, okay, but this is just 6 people in the team. How, even if you do numerous teams, I mean, how can this be scalable and how it really can affect such a large organization? The thing is that going through that action learning process through 6 months, let's say, and then practicing the skills, these new behaviors over and over and over again, make it super sustainable. So people that are leaving this set, and usually they are super happy and super satisfied and excited about this process, they come into their teams and they becoming a multiplier of that effect. So they're bringing that new set of behaviors to their teams, to their peers, to their direct manager. At the same time, we do connect with executive leadership when we approach them for challenges, when we present the solutions. So we also inspire that way of thinking and different style to the whole organization. That's how we measure. We measure with some satisfaction survey from learners' perspective, interest survey from leadership committee, some anecdotal feedback, as I said at the beginning, but many people that are participants leaving that set, they say that it really affected them holistically, like really who they are. And they say they're becoming different in the daily life, in how they, how husband, wife they are, friend, etc. So that's, I think, really a huge beauty of that process. We do also have a culture survey results because we're targeting to have our culture reshaped, so we also measure that way. And that's my last point here. I just want to say that this is, if you do all the steps together and follow that quite specifically, you can really have a huge value from all these areas. So leadership development, culture change, and personal development. But but it's lengthy, and that's probably the biggest challenge that we had, is that it takes time to do this process right. But you can pick and choose the single components of that process and just use them separately. Like, for example, this leadership challenge exercise, that can be done just purely as a standalone thing. You can take this business challenge work and do an innovation contest. So just do a Shark Tank style of just working on a business challenge. For me, the huge thing, and for our organization, how it enabled us to inspire some people for the culture change. Really, the action learners have become our huge culture change activators. When they came back to the places, to the countries, to the functions, they have started to implement some tools from the process. They started talking differently, questioning differently. They've been really a multiplier effect, and they've been also setting up the culture change teams that are still working and are very successful in what they do. So it's not easy to explain that process within that short period of time, but please don't hesitate to reach out for me if you want to answer some of the questions. I also left some inspiration materials and books that you can look into if you are thinking to introduce some of that in your groups. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for listening. If there are any questions, I'm open to answer them.
Thank you, Magdalena. A very clear presentation. First, a compliment from Beatrice Vela. And she says, great presentation, thank you. So on behalf of the whole audience.
Wonderful.
That's always good to have some compliments. Ralitsa Petrova, how do you select your business challenges, and how do the teams get formed? Do people volunteer, or are they being selected? So selection of business issues.
That's a great question. So when it comes to business challenges, we consult executive leadership team for what's the top challenges or top priorities, let's say for the year, what's really aligned with the strategy we're going, and that's coming from the business. Then when it comes to, or it can be also aligned to the local needs, because some of the teams may work locally, and that it would relate to some specific local challenges. Mm-hmm. For the participants, you can be flexible with that. You can actually ask volunteers. We did a different way. We still pre-selected the groups. So we've been looking in our talent pools, but also we want to be mindful of creating the group, because the participants needs to come from different functions, experiences, different seniority. We really need a diverse group to be a very good problem-solving group. So we've been actually pre-selecting, but open it up for volunteers would be, I think, also a great idea to do.
All right, thank you. And what is a Women's History Day or month?
Yeah, we try to extend how we celebrate, our value of female contribution to our business. So we not only celebrate, the Women's Day on the 8th, but we're really extending that for the whole month and do some activities and do some work around to bring that subject and be more inspiring about a woman in business.
Okay, so you celebrate the success of women in UPS, or
in UPS, but we also have UPS helping female entrepreneurs outside of UPS and creating some connections for them so they can actually run their business more easily and effectively.
Oh, great. Interesting. Maybe next time we can have a presentation about that. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You can be contacted. People can link to you on LinkedIn. Sure. They can find the presentation, etc., etc. So, great. So.